What if the greatest secrets of God were never buried, but built? Ancient scripture whispers of cities not made by human hands, sanctuaries where heaven once touched the earth. From Eden's vanished gates to Zion's unseen foundation, these divine metropolises were more than dwellings. They were blueprints of eternity. But where are they now? And why did God hide them beneath history's dust? Tonight we uncover the hidden truth behind God's secret cities, the celestial designs that shaped creation itself and the prophecy that they may rise again before the end of time. Before Eden bloomed beneath heaven's gaze, before the breath of man stirred the dust into life, before time itself rippled through the silence of the void, there existed a design older than stars, a divine architecture conceived in eternity's mind. These were not cities of stone or dust, not of brick and mortar like Babel's vain towers or Rome's forgotten palaces, but cities born in the heart of God, radiant with light, forged by word and alive with sacred intention. They were never meant to simply exist. They were meant to reveal. Scripture does not shout their names, but whispers them through sacred hints and scattered visions, threading a mystery through the Psalms, the prophets, and the final revelation. Psalm 46 calls it the city of God, the holy place where the Most High dwells. Isaiah proclaims, "Behold, a king will reign in righteousness, and princes will rule with justice, and each will be like a shelter from the wind." Hebrews declares that Abraham was looking forward to the city that has foundations, whose architect and builder is God. These are not metaphors. These are veiled blueprints, eternal metropolises designed not for commerce or conquest, but for communion, judgment, and redemption. They existed before man was formed because they were never for man alone. They were reflections of God's government, chambers of His justice, sanctuaries of His glory. In these secret cities, the order of heaven was mirrored. Every gate had purpose, every wall had meaning, every measurement, if it were given, would sing of eternity's weight. When Moses was shown the heavenly tabernacle and commanded to build its replica on earth, he was not inventing worship. He was aligning with a city already formed in the unseen. The book of Revelation reveals the full unveiling of this mystery in the final chapters. A city descending from heaven, not rising from earth, adorned as a bride, with foundations named after the apostles and gates bearing the names of Israel's tribes. Its streets are of gold like transparent glass, its light not from sun or moon, but from the Lamb Himself. This is the city of God in full revelation, a city not only divine in origin, but alive with the glory of its architect. Yet this city has shadows across history, precursors, echoes, silhouettes. The cities of refuge commanded in Numbers 35 were not ordinary towns. They were sacred structures where justice paused for mercy, where blood was weighed with law and guilt could find temporary sanctuary. They hint at a divine design where righteousness and compassion cohabit within walls ordained by heaven. Even Jerusalem, earthly and weathered, was chosen because it sat in alignment with something above it, a mirror on the mount. David called it the joy of the whole earth, not because of its geography, but because its stones had once cradled the presence of the Most High. When Solomon built the temple, the Spirit of God filled it not because of cedar and gold, but because it sat atop Mount Moriah, where eternity once brushed earth, where Abraham offered up his son, where sacrifice and obedience erected an invisible altar far greater than the one made by hands. These cities were not accidents of history. They were installations of divine intention. But if they were designed by God, where are they now? Why are they hidden? why do we wander through ruins searching for foundations we cannot touch? The answer lies not in decay, but in dimension. These cities were never meant to be purely physical. They were always veiled realities built in heaven, shadowed on earth, glimpsed through covenant and prophecy. Their gates open not with iron keys, but with revelation. And when Christ came, he did not merely walk through cities, he became the cornerstone of one. "Destroy this temple," he said, "and I will raise it in 3 days." His body was the tabernacle, his blood became the gate, and in him the new and living city began to rise, not with mortar but with mercy, not with blueprints on scrolls but with names etched in the book of life. These hidden cities are rising even now, where the Spirit dwells, where the saints worship, where the Lamb reigns in unseen glory. And before we go further, before we descend into the deeper mysteries of Eden's geometry and Zion's invisible foundations, pause with us. This ministry exists to make the unseen visible, to lift the veil on the eternal, and to call hearts back to the divine designs of God. If this message stirs something in you, consider supporting this work, joining the community that seeks what the world has forgotten. That before empires rose, before thrones were cast, there were cities built by God for the redeemed to one day inhabit. The journey now begins, through ancient gates beyond the flames of Eden to the very cities written in heaven. Long before Babylon dreamed of towers and long before Jerusalem felt the weight of glory on its hills, there stood a city without walls, without streets, without towers of men. A city not built by hands, but planted by the breath of God. Eden was not merely a garden of delight. It was the first city of the divine, a sanctuary where heaven walked with earth in unbroken rhythm. Every stream that flowed from its center was not just water but ordinance. 4 rivers breaking into the world as the arteries of God's governance flowing with purpose. Pishon, Gihon, Tigris, Euphrates. Each direction marking not only geography but divine administration stretching from unseen throne to visible creation. Eden's gates were unmarked by stone yet real in spirit, for the east of Eden was not a compass point but a place of entrance into holiness, the orientation of God's own procession. And in the heart of that garden stood not merely trees but symbols of covenant and judgment. The tree of life, source of immortality, and the tree of knowledge, boundary of obedience. Adam was not a simple gardener tilling ground with idle hands. He was a son of God, enthroned as steward, clothed in glory, positioned to govern a realm where creation still echoed the breath that formed it. Eden was the throne room of earth, where the King of Heaven would walk in the cool of the day, not hidden by fire or cloud, but manifest in nearness. It was temple, city, sanctuary, and cosmos, all in one. The creatures of this realm were not dumb animals, but part of a choreography of glory. Beasts in submission, earth in song, light in perfect alignment with law. And there, at the center of it all, was man, not sovereign by merit, but by ordination. He named, he ruled, he reflected. But into this divine city crept something foreign, an unspoken defiance, slithering beneath the branches, coiled not only in the serpent's tongue, but in the silent hesitations of the human heart. When man broke covenant, Eden did not collapse. It withdrew. It was not destroyed in flame or flood. It was relocated, veiled from sight, drawn back into the realm of the invisible, where holiness cannot be profaned. And in its place, at its eastern gate, were stationed beings unlike any man had seen. Cherubim, not as children with wings, but as living, burning sentinels, each crowned with flame, each holding a sword that turned in every direction, not to slay, but to guard. These were not symbols but realities, beings of pure obedience and fire stationed at the boundary between the seen and unseen. The flaming sword was not a threat, it was a warning, a threshold of holiness that could not be crossed without atonement. The world outside Eden did not fall into wilderness because God abandoned it, but because the sanctuary city had been sealed, lifted beyond reach, reserved for restoration. And yet its memory haunted the generations, echoes of a place where man and God had once walked as friends. Every ancient temple, every altar of stone, every whispered myth of a golden age points back to this lost city. Eden was the original blueprint, the divine city from which all others are but shadows. Its rivers flowed beneath the soil of history, its throne remembered in the aching heart of prophets. And though no map can find it and no nation claim it, Eden still exists, not in fantasy but in the invisible realm of God's dwelling. The cherubim still stand, the gates still face east, the tree of life still bears fruit in silence. And the promise remains that one day the veil shall lift and the city that was first shall also be last, restored in glory, not for one man, but for every redeemed soul who longs to walk once more in the garden city where creation began. In the generations after Eden's gates were sealed by fire and holiness withdrew behind the veil, a strange silence settled upon the earth, a silence not of absence, but of waiting. The ground still bore fruit, the stars still moved in their appointed rhythms, but the closeness of God had grown dim, like a memory fading in the minds of exiled descendants. Yet amid this long twilight, there arose a man whose footsteps broke the pattern of distance. His name was Enoch, seventh from Adam, and though the world around him grew increasingly corrupt, drunk on violence, deaf to heaven, he walked in a rhythm that did not match the times. And Enoch walked with God. Then he was no more because God took him. A single verse, brief as a breath, yet behind it thunders a mystery as ancient as creation. For Enoch did not die, did not return to dust like Adam before him or Noah after him. He was taken, translated, lifted from the temporal into the eternal. But what if his departure was not solitary? What if Enoch's ascension was not just the reward of a righteous man, but the echo of a city being raised? Ancient Jewish texts like the Book of Jubilees and For Enoch whisper of a divine migration, a hidden city glimpsed in vision, where watchers walked and thrones stood in judgment, where knowledge flowed like rivers and righteousness was law. Some traditions suggest that Enoch was not merely taken into God's presence, but became a cornerstone of heavenly order, a priest among angels, a ruler among mysteries, a witness among cities not seen. If Eden was the first city hidden, Enoch was the first man to find its path again, not by returning but by rising. His walk was not a stroll through fields, it was an ascent through realms. As he drew closer to God, the distance between heaven and earth thinned, and in his final days the boundary disappeared entirely. He walked with God until walking turned into rising and rising turned into dwelling. His life became a ladder, a restoration of the lost alignment between divine order and human obedience. In a world decaying from within, Enoch stood as a living city, structured by righteousness, adorned with wisdom, filled with praise. And when he vanished, he was not removed as an anomaly, but received as a first fruit. His departure was not an escape, it was an invitation, a signpost to the generations that followed that the dwelling of God with man was not a dream, not a myth, but a destiny that could rise again wherever holiness dares to walk. Enoch's story breaks the logic of death. It testifies that Eden was not destroyed but waiting, that heaven is not static but expanding, and that cities built in obedience are not bound to decay but may be lifted into glory. The city that ascended was not seen with eyes but known in spirit. A city made of praise, governed by truth, where communion was restored one step at a time. And even now, when the righteous walk by faith, when their paths align with unseen light, when obedience once more governs their gates, they tread on roads first traced by Enoch, heading not toward escape, but toward elevation. After the memory of Eden faded into myth, and the mystery of Enoch's ascent drifted into legend, mankind, still carrying the echo of divine design in its bones, sought once more to build a city, but not by invitation, not by holiness, and not by faith. It rose upon the plains of Shinar, forged in ambition, crafted with fired brick and tar, reaching skyward not in worship, but in defiance. Babel was not merely a tower, it was humanity's counterfeit Zion, a bold attempt to reconstruct the order of heaven using the raw material of pride. The people said, "Let us build for ourselves a city with a tower that reaches to the heavens so that we may make a name for ourselves." It was not the height alone that provoked heaven, but the intent beneath the mortar, a longing not for communion but for control. The tower was a monument to self-deification, a mimicry of divine architecture stripped of divine submission. They did not desire to dwell with God, they desired to rise without Him. It was imitation, not incarnation, rebellion wearing the garments of geometry. Every brick laid at Babel was a rejection of Eden's river paths, a replacement of God's name with man's. Yet what is haunting is how closely Babel tried to mirror the heavenly city. It had a unified language, a central ascent, a gathering of nations. Shadows of what Zion would one day embody, but without the cornerstone of righteousness. Where Zion is built from above, Babel clawed up from below. Where God descended on Zion to dwell among men, men ascended at Babel to dethrone the divine. And yet, in what appears a swift act of judgment, something deeper unfolded. Mercy veiled in disruption. God descended not to destroy, but to divide. He shattered their speech, splintered their unity, scattered their blueprints into 1,000 tongues. Not because unity is evil, but because unholy unity becomes unstoppable rebellion. The confusion of languages was not chaos. It was constraint, a divine speed bump halting humanity from sealing itself in a counterfeit eternity. Had Babel succeeded, it would have birthed a city without soul, a structure without spirit, a heaven made in man's image, void of the breath of God. The ruins of that tower, now buried beneath millennia of dust and myth, still speak. That sacred design cannot be stolen. The heights of heaven cannot be scaled with stone. Divine architecture is not achieved by human consensus or technological ingenuity. It is received, revealed, and reverently constructed in obedience. Babel was man's attempt to replicate Eden's blueprint without Eden's God. It was the anti-Eden, the anti-city, the great reversal of what was meant to rise. And in contrast, Zion would one day come, not as a tower of ambition, but as a city descending in light. Babel reached up and was broken. Zion comes down and brings healing. Babel sought to unite the nations in rebellion. Zion will gather the nations in worship. What Babel attempted in counterfeit, God will complete in truth. And so the legacy of Babel is not simply a story of wrath. It is a warning, a signpost that no matter how high man builds without the presence of God, every city is destined to fall. Divine architecture cannot be imitated by ambition. It can only be received in surrender. When the smoke of Babel's pride had long vanished into legend and the scattered tongues of man echoed through countless valleys, God chose a different path. Not a tower of defiance reaching up, but a mountain of grace calling down. And from that mountain rose a name that would echo through eternity: Zion. Unlike Babel, Zion was not chosen by man but by God. It was not built with bricks baked in rebellion, but consecrated by presence itself. Zion was never about limestone and mortar. It was the spiritual blueprint stamped upon earthly terrain, a location where heaven's throne whispered through the soil. For the Lord has chosen Zion. He has desired it for his dwelling place, declared the psalmist, not because of its height, but because of its alignment with the heart of the eternal. Here, time met eternity. The invisible kingdom touched the visible world. From Zion, the Ark of the Covenant rested, the mercy seat pulsed with divine fire, and the smoke of sacrifice curled like incense toward the stars. But it began not with Solomon's gold or temple courts. It began in the longing heart of a shepherd king. David did not merely seek to conquer a city, he yearned to make a home for God. "I will not sleep," he vowed, "until I find a resting place for the mighty one of Jacob." Yet when he offered to build a house for the Lord replied with holy irony, "You will not build a house for me. I will build one for you." The message was clear. God's dwelling would not be secured by human hands, but by divine promise. What David glimpsed was not just a sanctuary of stone, but a foreshadowing of the heavenly city. Every stone he laid in worship, every psalm he wrote, every sacrifice he offered became a rehearsal, a sacred echo of a city not yet revealed but already real. Jerusalem, which housed Zion, was merely the outer shell of something eternal. The prophets saw it. Isaiah described it shining like a precious gem, with walls of salvation and gates of praise. Ezekiel beheld its measurements given by a radiant figure with a measuring rod of fire. And in vision after vision, this city was not built from earth upward. It came from heaven downward, prepared as a bride, radiant in perfection. Zion was the model, the down payment, the mirror on earth of the eternal city that would one day descend in fullness. Even the songs of pilgrims journeying to Jerusalem, the Psalms of Ascent, were not just songs of national pride, but spiritual homing beacons, pulling the heart of the worshiper toward an invisible homeland. As the mountains surround Jerusalem, so the Lord surrounds his people. Zion became more than a location. It became a prophecy. It was the mountain where Abraham laid Isaac down. It was the stronghold David took from the Jebusites. It was the place where heaven kissed earth in mercy, and where the Son of God would one day bleed between two thieves beneath a sky gone dark. And in that moment the veil tore, not just the one in the temple, but the veil between earth and the greater Zion. For the blueprint was never about geography but glory. The true city was always descending in pieces, through worship, through obedience, through sacrifice, through the Lamb. Zion was not merely ancient, it is eternal, and every generation that turned its eyes toward it, every prophet who spoke of its beauty, every pilgrim who longed for its gates, was already walking its streets in spirit. For the city of God is not just a future hope. It is a present revelation. And the day will come when it will descend not in shadow but in fullness, radiant as crystal, crowned with the glory of the Lamb. And in that hour the voice of heaven will thunder once more. Behold, the dwelling place of God is with man. When the armies of Babylon breached the gates of Jerusalem, when the holy vessels were seized from the temple, when smoke rose from the mount and the cries of the people filled the valley like broken incense, it seemed to all who watched that the dwelling place of God had been shattered. The city of Zion lay torn and bloodied. The temple, once filled with the presence of the Most High, stood in ruins, gutted and silent. To the elders, the prophets, the priests, and the poor who remained, it felt as though heaven itself had been exiled along with them. The covenant had been carved into stone, and now even the stones wept. The people were led away in chains, some to the rivers of Babylon, others to foreign courts, and many to graves. The songs of Zion ceased from their lips. "How shall we sing the Lord's song in a strange land?" they asked, and for many the silence was the answer. But while man mourned the collapse of a visible city, heaven had already begun to build the invisible one. The destruction of Jerusalem was not the death of God's plan. It was the unveiling of a deeper blueprint, a reconstruction not of walls but of wonders, not in mortar but in mystery, not in geography but in glory. It was in the valley of despair among the exiles that God opened the heavens to a priest named Ezekiel. By the banks of the Kebar River, far from Zion's familiar hills, the skies split open not with wrath but with revelation. Ezekiel saw wheels of fire, cherubim bearing the throne of God, and above them one enthroned in light. It was not a memory, it was a movement. God had not been captured with the temple, he had gone ahead of his people into exile. And what he showed Ezekiel was not just comfort, it was construction. In the heart of Babylon, Ezekiel saw a temple not built by human hands, a vision so vast in dimension and holiness that no earthly structure could match it. Chambers stretched endlessly, thresholds measured in divine sequence, altars radiating purity, and in its midst glory returning from the east like the rising sun. The name of the city from that day shall be, "The Lord is there." Not was, not will be, but is. While Jerusalem burned, a greater Jerusalem rose, not in Judah's hills, but in the heavenly realm. This revelation shattered the old categories. The presence of God was no longer tethered to a single mountain or a single building. His throne moved on wheels, his glory traveled on wings of light, his presence would dwell wherever righteousness prepared him room. The exile, far from being a divine retreat, was a divine relocation. God was moving the foundations of his city from the visible to the invisible, from ritual to relationship, from law engraved in tablets to truth inscribed upon hearts. And Ezekiel's vision was not solitary. At the same time, in the courts of Babylon, a young man named Daniel was lifted into visions that shook the fabric of time. He saw thrones set in place and the Ancient of Days seated with tens of thousands standing before him. He beheld a Son of Man coming with the clouds of heaven, given authority, glory, and a kingdom that would never end. This was no earthly king. This was the ruler of the city not made with hands. Daniel, like Ezekiel, stood amid exile and yet peered into eternity. His visions were not merely of empires rising and falling. They were of an unshakable kingdom being prepared beyond the reach of sword and fire. Isaiah, too, though long before the exile, had glimpsed this. He spoke of new heavens and a new earth, of Jerusalem rejoicing, of a city where the sound of weeping would no longer be heard. He prophesied of a servant who would bear the sins of many, and of a future where the nations would stream to the mountain of the Lord, where swords would be beaten into plowshares, and the knowledge of the Lord would cover the earth like waters cover the sea. These were not political hopes or tribal dreams. They were the architectural renderings of a divine reconstruction. Though Isaiah never saw Babylon's flames, his spirit stood within the blueprint of a coming city, its stones formed of righteousness and its gates carved from peace. All of this points to a stunning truth. The fall of the physical city was not the end of God's dwelling with man. It was the transition to a deeper, more enduring reality. The exile did not destroy Zion. It unveiled its eternal form. What was once a mountain in Canaan became a reality in heaven. What was once a physical temple became a spiritual order. The Lord was not absent. He was drawing his people out of the shadow into the substance, out of the symbol into the source. The cherubim who once stood at Eden's gate now moved through Ezekiel's skies. The court of heaven was no longer a metaphor. It had become the seat of real government, and the people of God were no longer citizens of one land, but pilgrims of a kingdom that could not be shaken. Even in captivity, the faithful were becoming stones in this new construction. When Daniel prayed 3 times a day facing the ruins of Jerusalem, he was aligning his heart with the unseen city. When Ezekiel lay on his side for days, when he shaved his head, when he prophesied to dry bones, he was declaring that what man saw as death, God saw as blueprint. For what is exile but the stripping of old identity, the purging of false glory? The reminder that no earthly city, however sacred, is our final home. The foundations of God's secret cities were being relaid, not with marble but with mercy. Not in geography, but in spirit. The temple Ezekiel saw was never meant to be built in stone. Its measurements were a message, its chambers a call to holiness, its inner courts an invitation for the glory to return, not to a building, but to a people. This shift, from the visible to the invisible, from the temporary to the eternal, was not only a theological change, it was a cosmic one. Heaven itself was drawing closer. The exile became the crucible through which God forged a new identity for his people, not as owners of a plot of land, but as carriers of his presence. They would return to Jerusalem, yes, and rebuild its temple, but even that structure would weep, for it knew it was only a shadow of what had been revealed. The glory would not fill the second temple as it did the first. There would be no fire from heaven, no cloud descending on the altar. That glory was now reserved for another, one who would come as temple and sacrifice, as cornerstone and high priest, whose body would be broken and raised in 3 days, who would say to all, "Destroy this temple and I will raise it again." And in that resurrection, the foundations hidden since the exile would be revealed at last. The city Ezekiel saw, the kingdom Daniel foresaw, the heavens Isaiah promised, would begin to rise not in stone but in the hearts of those who believe. Every exile now would serve a purpose. Every scattering would be a sowing. Every tear would be a mortar for glory. The city of God would not descend in the thunder of armies, but in the quiet fire of transformed lives. And the name of that city would be more than a prophecy. It would be a declaration. The Lord is there. Even now, when the world watches ruins and war, when temples fall and kingdoms rot, the true city is rising, seen only by those whose eyes have been opened, whose spirits have been exiled from earth and joined to heaven, the city with no need of sun or moon, whose gates are never shut, whose foundations are apostles and whose light is the Lamb. That city is not coming. It is being revealed. And if you listen closely in the silence between prayers, you may hear it being built, one stone at a time. On the rugged, wind-scoured island of Patmos, exiled and alone, the Apostle John, last of the disciples, was given a vision not of mere consolation but of culmination. It was not a dream of escape from suffering, nor an abstract hope for a distant reward, but the unveiling of a mystery that stretched from the first garden to the final throne. What he saw was not fabricated in imagination, but revealed in glory. The New Jerusalem descending from heaven, radiant and terrifying in its perfection. Then I saw a new heaven and a new earth, and I saw the holy city, the New Jerusalem, coming down out of heaven from God, prepared as a bride adorned for her husband. This was not a metaphor. This was the city hidden since Eden. The same city glimpsed in Eden's fire, Enoch's ascent, Ezekiel's measurements, and Zion's shadow. Now, in the final hour of revelation, it was no longer obscured. The veil was torn, and John did not simply see a place. He saw a personified promise built not just of stones, but of saints, bearing the marks of divine intention and eternal craftsmanship. Its gates were 12, one for each tribe of Israel. Its foundations were 12, one for each apostle of the Lamb. Here, covenant met covenant, old met new, the law met grace, and all of redemptive history was sealed in golden symmetry. The city shone with the glory of God, its brilliance like a precious jewel, clear as crystal. The walls were of jasper, the city pure gold like transparent glass, the foundations adorned with every kind of gem, sapphire, emerald, amethyst, topaz, and more. The very streets radiated with divine geometry, their beauty not born of wealth but of worship. Nothing unclean could enter, no night could dim it, no temple stood within it, for the Lord God Almighty and the Lamb were its temple. There was no sun or moon, for the glory of God gave it light, and its lamp was the Lamb. This was not a city where God visited. It was a city where God dwelt, permanently, eternally, without barrier or mediator, without sacrifice or shadow. The tree of life stood again in its center, bearing 12 fruits, one for each season, and its leaves were for the healing of the nations. Eden was not simply restored, it was fulfilled, enlarged, eternalized. Where Eden had gates closed and guarded, this city had gates never shut. Where Eden had one river, this city had a river of life flowing from the throne. Where Eden was veiled after sin, this city was unveiled forever by the blood of the Lamb. The Holy of Holies was no longer hidden behind veils, for the whole city had become the holy place. The separation between heaven and earth was erased, not by man's ambition, but by God's descent. The dream of every prophet, the hope of every exile, the longing behind every psalm. It all converged in this one vision. The city where God lives with man, where tears are wiped, death is gone, and everything is made new. And before we continue into the closing mysteries of this divine story, we pause here at the gates of glory to offer a moment of reflection. If this message has stirred your heart, if these glimpses of eternity have awakened something in your spirit, we invite you to support this ministry. Like, comment, and share this message. Subscribe to the channel, and if you would like to bless the work we are doing, consider clicking the super thanks button and leaving an offering of any amount. Or become a channel member and stand with us as we continue to invest in research, revelation, and excellence, to bring the mysteries of Scripture to life and to prepare hearts for the kingdom that is already unfolding. Now let us return to the revelation that changes everything. The New Jerusalem is not only a vision of the future, it is the pattern of the present. For this city is not built only of light and gold, but of souls. Come, I will show you the bride, the wife of the Lamb, said the angel to John. And he showed him not merely a people, but a city. In this divine equation, the saints are not only citizens of heaven, they are its walls, its pillars, its gates, Each life redeemed becomes a stone in the eternal structure. Each act of faith, each surrender to Christ, each moment of worship and obedience is a layer in this unfolding construction. The New Jerusalem is not only coming, it is being formed, even now, not in the heavens alone, but in every heart transformed by grace, in every tongue that confesses Jesus as Lord, in every act of love done in His name, in every believer who walks not by sight but by the Spirit. The city is rising, invisible to the world but visible to the eyes of faith. This is why Paul could say, "You are the temple of the Holy Spirit." Why Peter called us living stones being built into a spiritual house. The mystery of the heavenly city is not merely that it descends, but that it inhabits. It invades the lives of the redeemed, reshaping them into dwelling places of God. Every prayer lifts a wall. Every sacrifice lays a foundation. Every moment of obedience carves another gemstone into the architecture of eternity. And when we gather, whether in fields or cathedrals, whether persecuted or praised, whether online or underground, we are assembling not around a building, but into one. The city is not future only. It is alive in us. And one day what is now hidden will descend in glory. What we have become in spirit will be revealed in form. And we will not walk into a city. We will realize we are the city, prepared as a bride, radiant with the glory of God. The revelation of John is not just the end of the Bible. It is the full unveiling of the beginning. The garden becomes a city. The exile becomes a wedding. The tabernacle becomes a throne. The lost dwelling of Eden becomes the everlasting home of the Lamb. And the God who once walked among trees now reigns among saints, not with sword, but with light, not in judgment, but in everlasting joy. This is the city that cannot be shaken, the kingdom that cannot be conquered, the house that cannot be torn down. The New Jerusalem is not just our destination, it is our origin restored. The city of God is not far, it is forming. And its gates, still open, are calling to the nations, "Come, enter," for the Spirit and the bride say, "Come." The grand visions of prophets, the burning stones of Zion, the golden avenues of the New Jerusalem, all of it, as vast and majestic as it appears, leads to a shocking turn in the divine narrative. That God, in all His infinite splendor, has chosen to dwell not only in the heavens, not only in descending cities of crystal and fire, but in something far smaller and far more fragile, the human heart. The story of divine cities does not end in cosmic descent. It turns inward, piercing through the veil of the grand and glorious to reveal the intimate and invisible. For the truest dwelling place of God, the most sacred structure ever designed, is not one built by hands or mapped on any ancient scroll. It is the soul redeemed by grace, the heart purified by faith, the body made holy by His indwelling Spirit. This is the hidden city within us. Paul, writing not from visions on Patmos or mountaintops like Moses, but from prison cells and humble rooms, declared a mystery more stunning than Ezekiel's temple. Do you not know that your body is the temple of the Holy Spirit? 1 Corinthians 6:19. In another letter he writes, "You are being built together into a dwelling place for God by the Spirit." Ephesians 2:22. These were not metaphors. They were architectural truths, design principles of the invisible city. The believer is not simply a follower of Christ. He is a stone in the city of God, a living piece of sacred architecture. The walls of the heavenly Jerusalem are not just jasper and emerald. They are the hearts of the redeemed, joined together in unity, rising one soul at a time into the eternal dwelling of the Most High. The foundations that prophets saw, The blueprints given in ancient days are not merely celestial, they are spiritual. What once stood in Eden, a place of unbroken communion, of glory without veil, is now being rebuilt within. The temple that Adam lost is being resurrected in us. Eden was never just about location, it was about presence. And that presence, once driven outward, has now returned inward. When Christ died and rose again, he did not just forgive sin, he opened the gates for God's Spirit to return to man. The veil in the temple was torn not just so we could enter the holy place, but so that the holy could enter us. No longer would God's presence rest above the mercy seat or behind a curtain. It would now abide in every believer, transforming flesh into sanctuary, heartbeats into hymns, and broken vessels into shining stones. This transformation is not symbolic, it is structural. Each act of repentance reshapes the soul. Each word of truth forms another pillar. Each surrender lays a foundation. And just as Eden was governed by rivers and light, so the life of the Spirit flows through the redeemed, nourishing the hidden architecture of grace. Jesus himself hinted at this when he told the woman at the well that the time was coming, and had now come, when worship would no longer be tied to a mountain or a city, but would occur in spirit and in truth. He was saying the same thing. The location of God's dwelling was shifting, not away from man, but into him. The city within us is invisible, but it is not imaginary. It has walls, boundaries of holiness. It has gates, disciplines through which we enter into the presence of God. It has a throne, Christ ruling in our hearts. It has light, the Word illuminating every hidden chamber. And like the cities of old, it has enemies who would breach it if they could. The flesh, the world, the adversary, all wage war against this holy construction. But the Spirit builds even amidst the siege, and where once the soul was a wilderness, it becomes a garden, then a sanctuary, then a city shining with quiet glory. This is the great reversal, that God, who once walked with Adam in the cool of the garden, now walks within every son and daughter of Christ. That the God who thundered from Sinai now whispers within the conscience of the meek. That the same fire which consumed altars now burns in the hearts of worshipers. The secret city is not far, it is forming. Every time you pray, a street is paved. Every time you love when it costs, a wall is strengthened. Every time you forgive, a gate is opened. Every time you worship in spirit and truth, another room is filled with light. And just like the ancient cities of refuge, where the guilty could run and find mercy, so too the city within us becomes a place where others can encounter the grace of God. When the Spirit dwells richly in a life, it becomes a beacon, a tabernacle, a holy place amidst an unholy world. You carry a piece of heaven everywhere you go, not because of who you are, but because of who lives in you. This is why Paul could endure shipwrecks, beatings, hunger, and chains. Because no matter what happened to his outer world, the inner city remained unshaken. Though outwardly we are wasting away, he wrote, yet inwardly we are being renewed day by day. You are not waiting for heaven to arrive. You are housing heaven already. You are not only a pilgrim to the New Jerusalem, you are part of its construction. The foundations of this city are not built by the mighty, but by the meek. Not by kings and generals, but by servants and worshipers. And when the final city descends in Revelation, it will not be foreign to you, it will feel like home, because it will complete the work already begun within. So look not to the ruins around you, nor fear the shaking of kingdoms. Look inward and build. Let God establish his throne in your desires, his walls in your thoughts, his light in your wounds. Become the city that Ezekiel saw, the bride that John beheld, the sanctuary David longed for. Let your life become a place where God can say again, as he once did in Eden and will declare once more in eternity, "Here I dwell, here I walk, here I am." The hidden city is within reach because it is within you. As the walls of the holy city rise higher within the hearts of the redeemed, as its golden foundations are laid with obedience, worship, and truth, as its gates stretch wide to welcome the nations an ancient enemy stirs. The serpent who slithered through Eden's perfection, the prince of Babel's rebellion, the accuser of every covenant, he sees the city's light and plots its fall. For as heaven's dwelling expands, darkness does not retreat, it retaliates. The war for the holy city begins not with armies of flesh and blood, but with an assault on order itself, a cosmic insurrection against the design of the Creator. The book of Revelation does not shy from this climax. It reveals not only the glory of the New Jerusalem, but the fury of a world set against it. For before the city descends in fullness, before the Lamb reigns visibly, the counterfeit city rises again, Babylon, not of bricks and towers this time, but of ideology and deception, of systems and seduction, clothed in wealth, speaking peace but soaked in blood. Babylon is the mirror of everything the holy city is not. Where Jerusalem is adorned as a bride, Babylon is dressed as a harlot. Where the holy city is pure and eternal, Babylon is corrupt and doomed. Babylon represents not just a place, but a condition, a world order that exalts man over God, that crowns pride, that replaces the altar with appetite, and truth with lies dressed in light. It is a spiritual empire rising again in every generation, whispering that man is sovereign, that holiness is bondage, and that the city of God is a myth for the weak. It moves through false prophets and twisted justice, through economies built on exploitation and churches emptied of truth. Its towers are cathedrals of ego, and its streets are paved with souls who traded eternity for applause. And so the stage is set, Zion rising from within, Babylon surrounding from without. The final war is not fought merely in valleys or skies, but in culture, in conscience, in belief. The dragon who swept a third of the stars now makes war with the saints. The beast rises from the sea, full of blasphemy, demanding worship. The second beast rises from the earth, performing signs, leading many astray. And in the shadow of their deception stands Babylon the Great, drunk on the blood of the prophets, her merchants weeping as her smoke ascends. This is not fiction. It is the unveiling of what has always been. But in the midst of this chaos, the city of God remains untouched. Why? Because its foundations are not laid in politics or stone, but in the Lamb who was slain. Every attack falls short. Every lie shatters against its walls. For the New Jerusalem is not defended by angels alone. It is shielded by truth, established by righteousness, and sealed by the very presence of God. Revelation tells us that fire will fall, not indiscriminately, but with precision, purging what cannot remain. Babylon will fall in a single hour. Her glory will fade like mist. Her kings and merchants will stand afar, watching her judgment, knowing it is just. And in that moment, the contrast is complete. One city burns, the other shines. One collapses, the other descends. The war for the city is the war for creation itself. It is the final conflict between design and decay, between the voice that said, "Let there be light," and the one that hissed, "Did God really say?" It is the battle between worship and rebellion, humility and pride, eternity and illusion. But the victory was never in doubt, for the Lamb who was slain is also the King who returns, riding on the clouds, crowned with many crowns and bearing a name that no one knows but himself. He wages war not with weapons, but with the word of his mouth. And when he speaks, the armies of darkness fall. And then it comes, the final moment, the fulfillment of every prophecy, the answer to every groaning. The holy city, the New Jerusalem, descends from heaven, not shaken, not scarred, not altered. She comes as she was always meant to, perfect, prepared, radiant with the glory of God. No siege could touch her, no fire could mar her. For she was built by hands unseen, from materials incorruptible. Her walls are salvation, her gates are praise, her light is the Lamb. And those who dwell within her are not survivors, but overcomers, not refugees of a war, but heirs of a kingdom. The war for the holy city is not just a battle at the end of time. It is a battle unfolding now in every heart, every nation, every church, every choice. Every act of compromise feeds Babylon. Every act of holiness builds Jerusalem. And when the final trumpet sounds and the king returns, only one city will remain. And the question will not be which city stands, but to which city do you belong? And then at last, the veil is lifted, not torn in part as at Calvary, but removed entirely, dissolved by glory. Heaven and earth, once divided by flame and curse, now converge in perfect harmony. The exile of creation ends. The waiting of saints ceases. The groaning of the earth is silenced. The city of God, long prepared beyond time, now descends in fullness, not as allegory, not as dream, but as the radiant fulfillment of every prophecy, every covenant, every whispered promise from Eden to Revelation. The holy city, the New Jerusalem, comes down like a bride adorned for her beloved, glowing not with human craftsmanship, but with the uncreated light of the Lamb. Its gates are never shut. Its walls gleam with precious stones. Its foundations are etched with the names of apostles. Its gates with the tribes of Israel, a marriage of covenants, a reconciliation of ages. But within this city there is no temple, for the Lord God Almighty and the Lamb are its temple. His presence fills every corridor, every breath of wind, every footstep upon its golden streets. There is no need for sun or moon, for the glory of God gives it light, and that light shines from the face of the Lamb. This is not merely a place. It is the restoration of what was lost and the completion of what was promised. Eden, once guarded by cherubim, is now open. The tree of life, once sealed from fallen hands, now bears fruit for the healing of nations. The river of life flows clear from the throne, watering the city not with water alone, but with peace, joy, purity, and eternal purpose. The curse is gone, the shadow is gone, the ache is gone, and every tear has been wiped from every eye by the very hand of God. The story closes where it began, but elevated, magnified, glorified. No longer a garden limited to 2 souls, but a city open to the nations. No longer a single meeting place, but a dwelling in which God walks with man forever. Every stone that was rejected has become the foundation of this city. Every martyr, every saint, every redeemed heart is now a permanent part of its radiant structure. And the greatest mystery of all is not that God made such a city, but that He made it for us. That the infinite, eternal, Holy One desires to dwell not above His people, not beyond them, but with them. That the Creator of galaxies would design a city whose walls carry our names, whose light carries our story, whose gates swing open not to angels alone, but to those who once wandered in darkness and now walk in His marvelous light. This is the true home, the place we were always meant to inherit, not as servants, but as sons and daughters. No enemy shall ever enter its gates. No sorrow shall ever cross its threshold. No death shall ever touch its citizens, and the throne at its center will never be shaken. The reign of the Lamb is forever, and of his kingdom there shall be no end. Yet even as this vision closes the book, it opens a final question, one not spoken in thunder but whispered in eternity. If the city is already being built, if its gates are already being fashioned, if its streets are already glowing with the names of the redeemed, will your name be among them? Will you be part of it when the gates open? For this city, though descending from above, is not distant, it is already near. Every act of faith lays another stone. Every heart turned to the Lamb becomes another light. Every soul who receives the Spirit becomes another room prepared. The invitation is open. The Spirit and the bride still say, "Come." The gates have not yet closed. The throne has not yet spoken the final word. And so today, before the trumpet sounds, before the sky splits, before the city descends, there is still time. Come to the architect who shapes eternity. Enter through the gate who is Christ. Let your name be written not in sand, but in the very walls of the city of God. For the city is real. The Lamb reigns, and the gates are opening.